I realized many months ago that to me, what makes the process of making videos about what I'm trying to do interesting is getting to share my thoughts about what I'm doing and why I'm doing it and how it's going alongside the actual work of what I'm doing. And I realized I haven't shared any of that in a while, so I just wanted to take a second to do that. I've been getting more work than I ever expected to at this point in things. Most likely the video that you're watching where I'm saying this is a video that also will have a bunch of work that was from like a month or so ago. So things have changed some in that time, but in general, uh, it's just been kind of crazy how much work has been coming to me so quickly. I could easily, I think, hire someone to do a lot of work already, um, but I'm trying to hold off on doing that until I feel a bit more like I have my feet firmly on the ground in terms of the business and the work itself and my finances and all that. So I have been coming out a bit ahead the last couple months, which is great. I'm still way behind overall, but that's kind of to be expected and isn't a big issue at the moment. But I've been spending a ton of time focusing on trying to get my big truck up and running because there've just been lots of setbacks and issues with that. Um, it's finally almost all the way back together. There'll be some more videos coming out that have to do with the whole process of rebuilding that. But yeah, that's getting close. The service body is getting delivered tomorrow. The transmission's back in. Um, there's I installed the PTO wrong in some way, so I can't turn it off. So I have to uh, pull it back out and figure that out. But overall, that's heading in the right direction. And once that truck is dealt with, I'll feel much better about focusing more on customer work because I've kind of been, well, for a while I was trying to both do a bunch of customer work and get my truck done, and it just wasn't happening. The truck wasn't getting closer, and it's getting less and less doable to have all my tools in my Forerunner because there's not enough room and it's just a mess and it's hard to move big stuff around in that. So anyway, I just decided at some point that I needed to basically stop taking on new work until I got the truck finished. And that did speed things up a lot. It also made it so that I was doing very little paid work and spending lots of money on the truck, so that it was a little stressful. Um, but I am making some progress finally. The other thing I haven't managed to figure out is how to deal with the fact that I'm pretty new to this. I mean, I have experience, but I when I'm doing stuff every day, I'm inevitably encountering new stuff all the time. And I make mistakes, and those mistakes sometimes cost money. Um, and it's also often not totally clear to me, like, where the line is between fixing something well enough and restoring it to perfect if I make a mistake. Like, I think it's pretty normal for mechanics and just contractors in general to make mistakes. And then, like, I made a bit of a mistake pressing out a bearing cap on a U joint on a drive shaft because it was an aluminum drive shaft, and one of the bearing caps came out a little bit sideways, and because it was aluminum, it like really messed up the snap ring groove. And a new drive shaft is like $800 to $1,000 on a job that's like a $400 job, which I would do if it was like the only reasonable solution. But it also feels a bit counter to the whole ethos of trying not to create more waste to like screw up something this big on a drive shaft that's like 8 feet long and then throw away the whole drive shaft. So I found a way to fix it, but it just made everything take longer. And yeah, I'm still trying to figure out how to deal with the making mistakes side of thing, especially when I'm at such a low volume of jobs right now. So yeah, I've been a little stressed out, um, just trying to get to everything, and I think I've been taking on too many jobs. Like, I've been saying yes to too much stuff when I don't really have the capacity for it, and that's also stressful. I've realized that I probably, in general, need to kind of just prioritize fixing my own stuff over fixing anyone else's stuff. Like the Forerunner has also been having some minor issues, and I just haven't gotten to them. But like, if that thing breaks, I'm totally SOL because the truck's not working either. So I guess it's sort of a like, put on your own mask before helping others on the plane. Where if my shit isn't working properly, I can't really do a good job of helping anyone else fix theirs. So I kind of need to make sure mine's fixed first. The other thing I'm trying to figure out how to balance is work versus like all the stuff in life that isn't work. I'm kind of habitually inclined to put work ahead of everything else and like just work a lot and not think about much else. And it also serves as kind of a way for me to not have to think about what's going on in my own head if that's unpleasant. Um, which I don't think is good. I would like to like be with whatever is going on instead of kind of banishing it by working too hard to be able to think about it. So in this moment where I kind of I'm starting to have an infinite amount of work, like I could be working all the time right now. I'm just trying to be cognizant of that and find ways to slow down a little bit and also not spend all the time that I'm supposed to be slowing down, not working, but just thinking about work and being stressed out about what I'm not getting done at that moment and all that kind of thing. And I feel like when I'm in this stressed out mode, my ability to do anything creative kind of goes out the window, which I don't like. Like I really like to write and play guitar and all sorts of stuff, but when I feel like I have more to do than I possibly can do, I kind of just can't access that part of my brain. So yeah, I don't really have any answers to any of this stuff, but it's just what I'm thinking about. But overall, it is really cool that this thing that I started not that long ago is making enough money to keep itself going. And I think there's a pretty good chance that by the end of the year, the the business will have broken even for the year or pretty close, which would be awesome. And the truck seems like it'll probably be working by then, and or hopefully a lot sooner than that. And I'm really enjoying getting to spend pretty much all my time outside fixing things. That's kind of what I wanted. So I'm trying not to only focus on the stuff that I haven't figured out yet. I think a lot is going well, and the fact that I'm living among people I really love spending time around and have a girlfriend who I really love a lot and um, get to wake up in this beautiful place every day and go fix things is amazing. And there's a lot of other stuff to figure out still. So that's kind of where I'm at and where the business is at. And I think probably this winter things will start to change because I'm probably going to hire someone. There's someone here who's doing seasonal work who knows their way around a car pretty damn well. And uh, I think I'm going to hire him once he is done with his seasonal job, which should be in a few months. It'll give me time to sort of get things rolling a little bit more. And hopefully by then I'll have my systems a little bit more figured out and all that. So it's exciting. Things are going well. I'm also pretty stressed out. That's just the way of the world, I guess. All right, on to actually fixing something. Working on this thing again, and I just sort of started messing around with the ignition switch and anything electronic related to starting the truck that I could find. The wiring's a complete mess, like maybe worst I've ever seen. But after some jiggling and messing around and unplugging stuff, I did eventually get the thing to start for a second. I got the lights to come on, the blower motor wouldn't turn off, and this is the switch. This did get the thing to crank, but now everything isn't working again, and so I think there's some really crappy connection somewhere. I also realized I don't know how to turn this thing off. Luckily it just died on its own. I was getting ready to like stuff something in the intake. So I got to figure that out. I think there's a fuel shutoff solenoid. Don't know if it works. And the first thing I'm going to do, just to try to hopefully get this thing acting consistently enough for me to do anything with it, is deal with this insane hodgepodge of wiring on the ignition switch here. I don't know if you can see it, but there's like 6 wires going into it, and they're all just like very badly butt spliced to each other. So yeah, I'm gonna cut all those out and put in new ones, because even what I think is the hot terminal on the ignition is getting like 4 volts instead of 12.5. I think just because there's so much resistance in the circuit. So I'm gonna cut all those out and redo them, and then see where we're at. It's truly horrible in here. Every time I pull on anything, some connection comes apart. So this should be an adventure. Well, it's still not the prettiest, but I have all 6 of those connections joined and heat shrinked. I use this heat shrink that has like some kind of weatherproof sealant in it, so moisture shouldn't be able to get in there for a good long time. This should be all good now, at least as far as the bad connections up here go, but still not getting any consistent cranking or lights on the dash. I was power probing around and found that I could get the engine to crank if I applied power to this bus bar that's on the front of the firewall on the wire that was coming off the starter solenoid. So the problem is somewhere inside the cab, I think, but I can't find it. I think there's got to be a bad ground in here somewhere, because nothing works most of the time, and then occasionally everything comes on all at once. And the most likely thing I can think of that would cause that is a bad ground, so I guess I just got to find where the chassis ground is for the cab, and then hopefully I can get these lights to come on more consistently. Well, it just started raining, so I'm gonna have to make this quick, but I think I found my problem. This very sketchy looking wire right here runs straight from here to the positive side of the starter relay on the like big lead going to the battery, but it's really shittily in there, and when I wiggle this around I can hear the solenoid clicking. So I tried putting a power probe on this, and that's ground. So this is a permanent ground. So I think maybe this wire is grounding out the whole system, because the current just goes from the battery to the starter relay through this wire and back to ground. That's my guess. And when I wiggle this and hear that click, the lights come on in the cab. But I'm pretty sure if I run a good wire from here to the ignition on post on the bus bar on the firewall up there, I think this will work properly, and this will energize with the key on and de-energize with the key off, which is good because it'll mean we'll actually be able to turn the motor off. So I'm gonna try that. This particular little clusterfuck of wires, which has like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wires of the same color, sketchily butt joined into some connector that I think had another wire break off of it when I started pulling this whole area apart. One of those wires, this one I believe, is the wire that's coming off of that fuel shutoff solenoid, and this whole thing here is grounded out somewhere. I don't know if this is supposed to be a ground or not, but when I hit it with the power probe, it shows me that it's ground. There's a ground noise and a power noise, and that's the ground noise if you can't see the screen. So that's all grounded, but if I turn the key on, then if I hit this again, it's still ground, but if I apply power to it, then the lights come on and the blower motor comes on. So I think that something in this cluster is grounded out, and it's grounding out the whole cab. But if all of this were hooked up correctly, this would all have power when the key gets switched on, and then everything would work as expected. So I don't know if it's that the ignition switch is messed up. I don't think it's that, or if it's something else. But yeah, this is our problem right here. I've never actually used this thing much before. I got it just kind of on a whim because people said it was really useful, and this is the first time I've gotten to use it in any serious way. And man, it makes all this stuff so much easier. So yeah, these things rock. I've been battling this thing for the last like almost 9 hours, and I just can't make heads or tails of what's going on with the ignition. I did find one wire that's definitely bad that needs to be replaced, that I believe is the power feed wire from the starter solenoid, like main terminal, where the positive side of the battery comes in, to the key, which is the wire that should always be hot, so that the key has power. But other than that, I can't figure out what's going on. Because if I power probe onto the, what I believe is the battery supply terminal on the key, the starter always turns over, no matter what else I do. Which seems like it should mean that the switch is bad, but there was some setup I had where the switch worked properly, some combination of jumper wires and stuff, but now I don't remember what it was. And I've tried testing the switch the best I can, and I'm pretty sure it behaves the way I'd expect in the accessory position, the off position, and the run position, but in the start position I don't have continuity between what I believe to be the battery supply terminal and any of the other terminals. But if the battery supply terminal were shorted to the start terminal that energizes the starter solenoid that makes the starter run, I would expect it to have continuity to one other terminal on the switch all the time, which it doesn't have. The starter solenoid also seems to be behaving properly, so the last thing I suspected was that there was a short between the power wire coming from the starter solenoid to the ignition switch and the start wire, like the signal wire for the starter solenoid that also goes to the switch. But I pulled those wires apart and I can't find any short there. Yeah, I'm super confused. I guess I'm just going to order a new ignition switch and a new starter solenoid, and then hopefully one of those two things is the problem. I don't really think either of them is the problem, but I'm really not sure. I hate to part spray, but like I'm out of ideas, and I spent all day on this one thing basically. I'm not going to charge them for a lot of the time I spent today, just because a lot of it was me just banging my head against the wall trying to understand how the whole system works. So yeah, I don't know, a little bit of a frustrating one, but I guess hopefully next time I'll find out what the actual solution is. For now, I'm gonna go home. It's been a long day of staring at wires. I will catch you on the next one. I just spent the better part of a second day trying to get all the electrical on this truck working properly, and I could have just sort of sketchily rigged it to turn on correctly. Someone else had clearly done that in the past, but I wanted to make it at least sort of right. I did just finally get the key operating basically right. So here's what I found out. I basically have it all rigged up with jumper wires right now. It's kind of a mess, but I wanted to test everything out before I wired it all permanently. So basically what's going on is that this is a 6-terminal switch, and there are 3 circuits. Circuit number 1 is the normal sort of accessory off run position, where there's one hot wire and it feeds the power to the dash, the power to the accessories. And on a normal car, or at least on the cars I've worked on in the past, when you turn it to the start position, which is where the engine starts cranking, then that same power wire gives power to the starter solenoid. On this, the way it works, and what took me so long to figure out, is the main power wire in the run position feeds the accessories and the, cab lights and all that. Then in the start position, that main power feed, which is this wire right here, is cut off from everything else. And instead, there are 2 other circuits. One is a dedicated start circuit, which is this wire and this wire, which just make contact on the starter solenoid. That's all those 2 wires do. And then there's another separate power feed to run ignition and accessories while you're cranking. And I don't really understand the reason for that. But that is this wire here. The thing that's still not working quite right is that the power feed wire that's supposed to
illuminate the dash and run the accessories while you're cranking isn't working quite right. It's clearly working partially right because the fuel shutoff solenoid is, I guess, whether you want to call it turning off or turning on, it's allowing fuel into the motor. But there's some lights on the dash that I'm pretty sure should be turning on that aren't turning on. I don't think I'm going to bother figuring that out for now because they're really just trying to sell this thing and I don't want to spend another whole day on it. So for now, this setup is good enough to get the thing to start at long last. So this is the run position. We got lights on, and then it runs, baby. So there we go. I'm just gonna finalize that switch wiring the next time I'm here and disconnect the batteries and leave it as is for now, but at long last, it fucking runs. Oh my God, that was a saga. And importantly, it shuts off. Back working on this blue truck. I was actually here a few days ago and did some more work on it, but I was with someone else and I wasn't sure how stoked they would be about filming, so I didn't do any filming then. But got the key wired up such that it works consistently every time, which is great. Did oil filters, fuel filter, fuel water separator, a couple other things. Started working on getting this thing moving, and it doesn't want to air up all the way. It only builds pressure to like 50 psi, and then if I kind of get on the throttle for a while, it'll go up to like 75 psi, but one of the brakes isn't releasing. I'm not sure if it's because of low air pressure or because the brake chamber's messed up. There's 2 brake chambers on this thing that seem to have some internal damage of some kind. One of them's always released as far as I can tell, and the other one is messed up in such a way that I can't cage it to take it off. So I gotta figure that out. I got some air fittings and a compressor with me to try to figure out how to deal with that. But first I need to fix a fuck up I did last time, which is that we were about to change the hydraulic filter and I turned this valve off right here, which goes right to that hydraulic filter. And then we got distracted by something else and I forgot to turn that valve back on and turned the truck on, and that created like a pressure lock situation because this thing was trying to pump pressure through the system, but it couldn't because this valve was closed. Luckily for me, the gasket on the filter blew before I think anything internal blew. So I'm gonna change this filter out, which I was gonna do anyway, and then run the truck a bit and make sure the hydraulics are working the way I'd expect. This thing has an always on PTO as far as I can tell, like you can't turn off the hydraulic pump. So I gotta fix this before I turn the truck on to do anything else. And if I screwed up more of the hydraulics in some way by doing that, then I will fix that on my own dime. Rookie mistake for sure. A whole lot of room in here. Okay. Oh man, that went smoothly. Oh. I cut apart the old filter and I did find some brass in it, which isn't a great sign, but not necessarily a horrible sign. I would kind of expect some wear of some kind after it got put under a ton of stress. So what I'm gonna do is change the filter, drain all the oil, put in new oil, change the filter, and then run it a little bit and change the filter again. And if there's substantially less brass the second time, I'm not gonna sweat it. If there is, I'll figure out if I should get a new pump. I don't think it's gonna be crazy expensive, probably a few $100. So yeah, we'll see. That was dumb, but live and learn. So in theory, nothing should come out when I take this plug out. We'll see if that's true in practice. Looking like not true in practice. Maybe just a little. So my original plan here was to drain all the fluid, put new fluid in, put a new filter on, and then run it for a while and see if there's a bunch more metal in that filter. But I did some looking. I think this thing has like 110 plus gallons of hydraulic fluid in it, which is like $900. So at that price, I should probably actually probably more like $1,500. At that price, I should probably just put the new filter in, run it, check it, see what's in it, and if it looks good, don't sweat it, and if it looks bad, then think about just getting the pump rebuilt, because it's going to cost as much to replace all the fluid as it will to get the pump rebuilt, and so I might as well wait till I know that I need to get the pump rebuilt before I bother changing the fluid, and if it's pretty clean after another $50 filter, then I'll be fine. This was a stupid move. I hopefully will never make that mistake again. This gasket weirdly sits like inside the housing, but on top of the filter. I haven't seen this set up before. Unfortunately, what I think is the hydraulic filler cap is on top of the truck. And I have yet to find any particularly good way to get on top of this truck. So I've been doing it like this. Smells like hydraulic oil. Oh boy, that was a mess. Really can't wait to have my truck with a barrel of hydraulic oil and a barrel of engine oil, or a tank or whatever, and just have a pump head and not need to do this every time, because it's so hard, at least for me, not to make a mess. That land in the drain pan? Yep. Whoops. Is there a ladder back here? There is. That makes more sense. I sure do feel myself making a whole bunch of stupid mistakes. I'm like very afraid of seeming like a hack, and I don't think I'm a hack. Like, I think I care about doing things the right way, but I do often fuck stuff up since I'm new to this, and I don't know where the line between being a hack and being someone who's learning is not that clear to me, I guess. So hopefully I'm not a hack. I really don't want to be a hack. Like, I really don't want to be a hack, but I do keep making stupid mistakes, so I guess only time will tell. Now that all that's done, I'm going to start it up again. Hopefully the pump won't be screaming this time. The pump's making a sort of whirring noise, but it's quite quiet. I think it's probably fine, but I'll run it for a while and see what I see. I'm pretty sure I finally got this thing to air up enough to take it for a little drive, so let's see if I can get it to move. Sweet! That's pretty satisfying. We still have a brake dragging, but it runs, it moves. Yeah, there's definitely something dragging though, because it stops really fast. I think it's safe to say that that brake is pretty stuck. That's what happened when I tried to go backwards. I started plowing. It did clearly roll forward a bit, but yeah, something was pretty stuck in there. I think the chamber itself might have kind of failed, so I'll probably pull it off. I don't think it's stuck to the drum because I can't even cage the brake. There's something wrong internally with the chamber. So I think I can air up that chamber with a compressor, hopefully get it to release that way, and then take it off like that. But I've never done that before. I'm a little nervous about it because if I mess it up, I will have an air brake exploding in my face. So I want to make sure I have that do what I think it's going to do before I mess with it at all.